Live from the Scripps Studios, this is 10 News.
Both me and my wife came out of the house and put towels down around the doors, but we knew we couldn't stop it.
Look at that water shooting nearly 30 feet into the air. A broken fire hydrant sent thousands of gallons pouring into a South Bay home. Wow. Good evening. I'm Steve Atkinson.
And I'm Lindsay Pena in for Kimberly Hunt. 10 News reporter Anthony Pura is near Otay Mesa with the new clue that could lead police to the person responsible for the damage.
This is the fire hydrant that toppled over. There aren't any obvious signs of damage, and it's still very much intact. So officials weren't sure what happened, but a neighbor's security camera caught what looks like a hit and run. A broken fire hydrant turned into a geyser, sending about 1,000 gallons of water a minute into the air on Mariner Drive. The endless stream falling onto a nearby house and flooding it.
And just heard a loud noise started, and it was continuous.
Gary Birtwell and his wife were inside their home when the hydrant ruptured. They went outside and shot this video of the endless cascade that went on for nearly 20 minutes.
It's coming in our back door. We had about 6 inches of water in the backyard that basically filled up above the door. And so it was coming in the door, had water coming in a closed window on the side of the house. We had water that came in the ventilation.
The cars in the driveway drenched. Gary's home and yard left with major flood damage. A neighbor's security camera footage caught the culprit, a white SUV. You can see it pulling into the curb. It appears to hit the hydrant. Water slowly starts seeping through the sidewalk until the hydrant gives way. The SUV leaves the scene. Police are now looking for the driver responsible for leaving the homeowner with an expensive mess to clean up.
It's just kind of hard absorbing it. We have a saying in my work called drinking from a fire hose, and that's what it's kind of been for the last few minutes.
Near Otay Mesa, Anthony Pura, 10 News.
We're getting answers to some of the biggest questions surrounding how the alleged Poway synagogue shooter bought his gun. 19-year-old John Ernest had an invalid hunting license when he bought the gun. Without that valid license, he was too young to legally buy a gun. 10 News reporter John Horn explains why the state didn't check the license.
New scrutiny Friday over how the state is enforcing its new law that blocks people under 21 from buying rifles. The questions come after accused Poway synagogue shooter John Ernest was able to buy a gun in San Diego at 19 without a valid hunting license. That license, one of 3 exemptions that allow people under 21 to buy long guns. The others, military and law enforcement. Receipts show Ernest, a college student, picked up the AR-15 style rifle from San Diego Guns on April 26th. It was the day before the attack on the Chabad of Poway and more than 2 months before his hunting license would become valid. The State Justice Department now telling 10 News it is the gun shop's responsibility to determine the validity of the license before allowing the customer to fill out the online application. During the ensuing 10-day waiting period, the state checks things like criminal history and mental capacity, not hunting licenses. An employee at the gun shop declined comment Friday. Prosecutors say Ernest killed Chabad of Poway congregant Lori Kay and injured 3 others in the attack, including 8-year-old Noya Dahan, shown here. Her father, Israel, did an interview with 10 News just days after the shooting.
It makes me feel bad like any other father. Nightmares? Yes, there is nightmare. They're sleeping with us.
Reached Friday, Israel Dahan said he knew something was off when a 19-year-old had a gun. He added, however, that despite what the laws say, in the end, Ernest would have found a way to get a firearm legally or illegally. John Horn, 10 News.
Now, we did speak to survivors today. Israel Dahan says his family is trying to move forward, but Noya will need surgery to remove some shrapnel from her cheek. Dr. Howard Kay, husband of Lori Kay, declined to comment, saying he's choosing to focus on the positive.
A man who pleaded guilty to molesting 2 underage girls faced his victims today. Prosecutors say that Donald Hickey also had thousands of images of videos and child porn. Today, one victim addressed Hickey directly, and the other victim's parents looked right in his eyes as they addressed him.
You are truly a despicable human being, but at least you'll never hurt another innocent child again in your lifetime. My wonderful daughter has had a piece of her childhood stolen from her. Nobody should ever have to go through the evil that you have brought.
Hickey also spoke, saying that he was sorry to the victims and that he was also abused when he was a child. He was partially sentenced today but faces 25 years to life in prison when he's back in court next month. And the man who... go ahead.
The man who raped a woman in broad daylight in Mission Beach is headed to prison. Philemon Shark was sentenced to 6 years in state penitentiary. This is video from his arrest in December of 2018. Police say he attacked a woman when she was walking alone in Mission Beach. After hearing her screams, residents raced over to pull him off her. Shark ran off but was spotted by another resident who pointed him out to police.
Frightening moments at the Old Town Transit Depot as a security officer was forced to stab a violent man. Police say that man was punching the officer, even reached for his gun. Well, that's when the officer pulled out his knife and stabbed the man in the chest. Then the attacker ran off. So police got a call from the man's own wife, and she helped them find him by pinging his phone. Officers did find him. He was taken to the hospital. The officer was bruised in the attack, but otherwise is okay.
CAL FIRE crews crossing the border for the first time in a decade to help fight a fire. The Border 8 fire is burning along the U.S.-Mexico border and is only 60% contained and has burned more than 1,500 acres. 10 News reporter Travis Rice has why San Diego firefighters are in Mexico.
Good evening. You can actually smell the fire in town. Fires along the border are of course common, but what happened today wasn't. CAL FIRE crews crossed into Mexico to help with the fire over there for the first time in more than a decade. It's an international effort to stop the Border 8 fire. Crews from both Mexico and CAL FIRE are battling it after the fire made moves closer to the border.
Air tanker drops were made just north of the border to pre-treat the fuels. And the idea there was to, rob the fire of an opportunity to establish itself north of the border.
CAL FIRE says after the airdrops, their crews did something they haven't done in quite some time.
They drove in formation down here to the Tecate port of entry and made an official entry into Mexico and as a group. And immediately went to the fire to start assisting.
It's a part of an aid agreement that's been in place for years.
Firefighting community is a very tight community regardless of where you work or what country you're in.
CAL FIRE says something burning out of control on the Mexican side could cause just as many problems for us.
As far as we are concerned as an agency, this is no different than any fire that would have broken out on this side of the border.
And for those wondering if it's a two-way street,
if the opportunity arises, we will absolutely request resources from the other side of the border to come up and help us out.
CAL FIRE says they will be assisting south of the border as long as it is necessary. In Tecate, Travis Rice, 10 News.
Union workers at local grocery stores are demanding a better deal. Now, they say that failed negotiations could lead to a strike. They held a rally today outside the Rouse in Mission Valley. Among those protesting were United Food and Commercial Workers Local 135 and Southern California Teamsters. The UFCW says that they've been without a contract for months, and after 25 failed negotiation sessions, they are demanding action.
We took our proposals, we pared them back a little, gave what we thought was a reasonable offer, and the employers came back and offered us another nickel. I don't know about you guys, but 5 cents doesn't go very far.
Well, the union says if an agreement is not made during negotiations next weekend, a strike could happen as soon as the first week of September.